All right. Well, getting back at it here today. A lot of teams getting back on the ice playing games tonight. Do you like having the extra couple days here coming out of the break?
Well, I do for the number of guys we had wearing gold to get a practice or two for these guys to really get a handle on where they're at and where they'll be available opening night. But we're pleased to have all of them on the ice and moving. We should have a good idea by the end of practice tomorrow if they're available or not.
Yeah, you had Sasha. Looked like he was back on the top line. Was that just to see keep him there, or
first full practice back. The guys wear gold just so that nobody gets into them at all. You saw that Ekblad didn't mind throwing hits, so it's the free pass for the guys to go. They can hit whoever they want, but they can't get hit. So that's just. I would think that will come off tomorrow. Be up to the trainers. We may put them in just regular practice. If they get the green light, then we would expect them to be available.
Was it a big relief with Ekblad? Because it obviously didn't look good.
So it's not good enough to come back in the game. That's usually a tell that we're worried about it.
Right.
And then, but even by the time he got on the plane that night, he was feeling much better. And it's something he's dealt with before, which is actually really important because the player then knows where he's at with it, and then he felt quite a bit stronger.
I think during the game, I don't know if you didn't know this, but they announced that he was questionable to return, which I think a lot of people were going, "Oh, well, you didn't rule him out." So
no, that was you guys get early updates now. So when he first went off, it was he's done for the rest of the period. We'll see how it feels, and then by the time he got to the end of the period, there wasn't a chance of him coming back.
And Radko likely back.
Yeah, he's got to get through today and tomorrow full contact, and then he'd be good to go.
He seems like he's really ready to go. Those concussions are weird, though, right?
Yeah.
Because
he's
physically ready to go, but
right. We got the best kind of science that we have, and there's some checks and balances in there, and you've got to pass every little bit. There's lots of guys over time where they felt good, and then 2 days later they didn't. So you don't like it. God, you want a guy like that back in your lineup, but by being more cautious early, we have lowered the man games lost overall. So it makes way more sense to be cautious early because those guys usually at that point then come back and they don't miss.
Do you have to talk to guys about how there's still a whole lot of hockey left, and it's certainly not outside the realm that you guys get to where you want to get to? Are you at the point where you have to start talking?
I don't feel that they need those tires pumped. I don't. These guys, all of us, are hyper aware of the changes every night. Right? They know where they're at, and this is not their first year in the league. They understand. You look at the schedule that we've got coming up in January. Most importantly is to get these players back in your lineup. You can start assessing where you're at. But just watching practice today, that big man moving through the middle, there's not many guys like him in the league, and when you watch practice, you don't see that very often. That guy that big, that fast, changes the way you attack. And Lundell is kind of the quiet. Lundell and Gudas are the quiet guys out of our lineup. But if you take two of the top three centers out of a line for a month, you're just going to look different. And then they get back into practice, and you go, "Oh, shit, yeah, we look different." So it picks up everybody's mood, everybody's energy. Radko is such a unique player, but also a unique personality on our team and in practice. Right? He's chirping, guy like he's a big part of what happens out there. So having him out there in red. It just brings a more positive feel to the room.
Anton Levji gets the call from Charlotte, and you saw him back in camp. Just your expectations for him.
I want him to shoot the puck. I want him to shoot the puck because he can. And that'll be a challenge for him. We talked to him about it at the end of practice today. New guys come up, and there is a bit more of a passing mentality in the European game, and he can pass, but he's here because he can shoot the puck, and we think he's playing with two guys that can find him in holes, so we want him to shoot the puck.
And he put up big numbers over in Finland. How important was him to have these 2-3 months in Charlotte to make that adjustment to the game?
Really important. The game is so completely different over here, and he's an older pro, so he's got more years ingrained in a certain style of game, so it takes those guys a little bit longer at times to find the holes. It's a completely different, almost sport. Right, so especially when you get those, the young guys coming in, they've never seen it. The older guys, it's ingrained in them. You've got to give them some time to get a feel for the speed of it. The game really doesn't slow down much in the National League. There's a couple of places to regroups and some line changes. Other than that, it's a full sprint game. Where in Europe, there are a whole bunch of places on the ice that you would never forecheck, you would never sprint because of the size of the ice. That's a challenge for these guys, for sure.
We know what a couple days off means to players in the middle of the season. What's it mean to a coach? How much did you need a couple days?
We all felt the same way getting off that plane. I think it was about 5 in the morning when we rolled home. We weren't looking for a back-to-back. Everybody needed it at that point for sure.